this after the fact, I still hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy. This story is a story that I wrote a very long time ago, and it's not finished, but by the time I record this video, I will have finished it. So there's that. Also, if you're listening to this in the playlist after the whole story is done, thank you for listening to the entire story, and I hope you enjoy the ending and everything else in between. So, without further rambling, and without further sappiness and everything between, please enjoy the first installment of Storytime. And please enjoy The Mage and The Princess. The kingdom of Helia is known for many things. Beautiful architecture reaching from the bustling bazaar to the ornate ivory palace, crystal clear ocean on all sides, and a royal family that leads with compassion rather than oppression. The distant sounds of roosters filled the streets of the sun-cut bazaar. The various merchants yawned and groaned as they all gathered in the town square.
"Morning, men! Get your butts in gear and help the old girl get ready for sailing,"
yelled the dockmaster, preparing the crew for sea. The sound of the stands being built echoed through the lower quarter. Families of all sizes exited their homes and followed the sounds of the city. Mira Lunes noticed the Guildharts exit their home and called out, "Good morning, Lyra, Melanie, lovely day for shopping." The two women met in the middle of the road to join the crowd. "Good morning to you too, Myra. It is a lovely day." As the crowd continued on, Melanie groaned as she bumped into multiple people. "How do you two handle the crowd every morning?" Melanie grabbed her mother's hand to avoid getting separated. Lyra smirked in response before saying, "I'll admit, the crowds can be rather strenuous. I guess you just get used to it with time." The various hanging tapestries of different fall colors signaled the entrance to the bazaar. Melanie released with a sigh of relief as the crowd dispersed slightly. Myra gasped and pointed in the direction of the local butcher. "Lyra, look! The 2 pounds of meat are only 15 silver." Lyra's eyes began to shine, and Melanie chuckled slightly. Before walking away, Lyra handed Melanie a small amount of money. "Honey, do me a favor and go get some thread over there, the gray kind." Before Melanie got the chance to respond, the two women were already walking away.
"Hey, I didn't say I would."
Great. Looks like I'm shopping too. After purchasing the thread, Melanie glanced around at the various stands. A violent growl escaped her stomach. The thread merchant chuckled and said, "If you're looking for something to eat, there's a great food stand just over there." Melanie pulled her hood up to hide her face. "Thank you, sir. Good day." Walking down the road, many smells drifted in the wind. Melanie let her mind wander and listen to the sounds around her. Children playing tag, women arguing with merchants over prices, and idle conversation passing her by.
"Freshly cooked meat here! Freshly cooked meat!"
Another growl escaped Melanie's stomach, and she wandered over to the stand. "Mutton, please." In a flash, the freshly prepared meat was already in her hands.
"3 silver,"
said the gravelly-voiced merchant. Melanie paid and began to walk towards the town square. She took a bite out of her meat and felt her hunger melt away. Home cooking is always the best, but this is a close second. A familiar noise in the distance grew louder, and Melanie grew excited. "Mommy, it's the town crier," said a little girl, tugging on her mother's dress. "I hope they brought good news to share." Whispers grew in the crowd as the crier took their place in the center of the square.
"Hear ye, hear ye! I bring news from the palace."
The crier unrolled a large scroll and began to read.
"The royal ball will be held in 2 days' time. Invitations will be sent out later today."
The news sent a wave of excitement through the crowd. Melanie raised her hand to ask a question. "Will we be meeting the royal family?" Everyone looked to the crier.
"The entire royal family will be in attendance."
The crowd erupted in cheers and gasps.
"The theme is masquerade. Masks will be provided with your invitations."
Melanie smiled to herself as she began to walk towards the butcher's. Melanie and Lyra met on the road leading to their home, and Lyra said, "Melanie, there you are. Come on now, the shopping's done." Lyra gave Melanie a small hug, and they both made their way home. "Thank goodness. I need a rest before work later." said Melanie, rubbing her shoulders as she walked. Making their way through the busy bazaar roads, Melanie found herself gazing towards the beautiful palace towers that were visible from anywhere in the city. The interior of the palace was a large departure from the more modern lifestyle of the working class. Elegant portraits of past rulers, various splashes of color in every hallway, and bedrooms so large most homes in the lower quarter could fit inside. The peaceful quiet of the morning was interrupted by a knock on the door. "Princess Valerie, it's time to get up." The maid entered the room and closed the door. Valerie groaned and shuffled in bed. 10 more minutes. I'm comfortable. Valerie shuffled again. The maid pulled open the drapes, revealing the morning sunlight. "Princess, the queen has been waiting for an hour. It's time to get ready." The maid removed the blankets from the bed and began folding them. "You enjoy my torment, don't you, Camille?" Valerie began to stretch before standing. "If you wanted me to be gentle, you should have actually tried to wake up on time." The two women shared a laugh as Valerie made her way to the wardrobe. She glanced at her selection of clothing. What's on my schedule for today, Camille?" Valerie began shifting through the wardrobe as she listened. "Only 3 things today, Your Highness. First, you have a meeting with the council about the upcoming ball." Camille looks up to see Valerie's face scrunched up in response. "Ugh, the ball. Another reason for my mother to stuff me in a corset. What else?" Valerie removed the simple blue dress from the wardrobe and placed it on the bed. "You have training with the captain this afternoon." Camille began to help Valerie as she continued to speak. "Lastly, your mother wanted to have tea in the evening." The two women walked over to the mirror. "Thank you, Camille. You are too kind to me." Valerie quickly made her hair into a simple braid before exiting the room. As she approached the door, Valerie could hear the sounds of conversation. Before entering, she attempted to put on her best "I am a noble and happy princess" face. Upon entering, the court stood and slightly bowed. "Good morning, Your Highness." The royal advisor was the first to speak. "Good morning, Mother, everyone." Valerie took her place before the royal advisor began the meeting. "Queen Meredith, Princess Valerie, and all members of the court, let us begin." The meeting discussed all manners of issues that required attention from the court: job wages, food distribution, and taxes. The royal advisor continued. "For our next topic, the royal ball." The court grew with whispers, and Valerie rolled her eyes. "How are the preparations going?" said Meredith. The royal advisor produced a pile of parchment. Clearing his throat, he began to read. "The ball is nearly complete. The cooks have prepared the menu, and the invitations were sent out earlier today." The royal advisor watched as Meredith nodded her head. "Well done. I'll leave it to you, then." Meredith stood and walked towards Valerie. "Valerie, you've been very quiet this morning. Do you have something you wish to discuss?" Meredith watched as Valerie straightened in her chair before hearing her speak. "No, I don't. I just don't like parties is all." Suddenly the room was filled with the loud ringing of the bell tower. "Oh, it's high noon. I better be off to training. See you later for tea, Mom." Valerie ran from the room to quickly change into her training leathers. The throne room grew silent once more, and Meredith laughed slightly, then sighed. "What am I going to do with that girl?" Down in the training grounds, Valerie prepared for training. "Ah, good morning, Valerie." The voice was loud, and Valerie knew who it belonged to. "Afternoon, Captain Merrill. Ready for training?" The two women exchanged a warrior's handshake before heading to the ring. "Today, we're going to work with real swords." Merrill produced 2 short swords and gave one to Valerie. "I know you've been waiting for this, and I think you're finally ready." Valerie glanced down at the sword in her hand. "It's not as heavy as I thought, though that's not saying much since I've only used wooden ones." Valerie removed the sword from its sheath, and Muriel followed suit. "Don't expect me to go easy on you. This is still training," said Muriel, moving to the center of the room. "You never have before. I wouldn't want you to start now," said Valerie, moving to meet Muriel face to face. The two women bowed, assumed their positions, and began. The guild hall was in the military district of the city. Standing in line, Melanie noticed she was next. "ID, please," said the gatekeeper. Melanie reached into her bag and produced her identification card. "There you are, ma'am." Melanie stood with her hands to her side while the gatekeeper verified her card. "All right, go on through." The gate opened, and Melanie bowed slightly before walking through. The military district worked in connection with the royal guard in protecting both the royal family and the entire kingdom. Outside the guild hall, Melanie noticed one of her party members helping soldiers with supplies. "Hey, Eleanor." The two girls quickly hugged. "What's all this for?" Melanie saw multiple wagons filled with various items. Eleanor stretched her arms above her head and said, "Some supplies for the Eastern garrison. The monsters have been getting more bold lately." The two girls began walking towards the guild hall entrance as they spoke. Stopping in front of the entrance, Melanie spoke her mind. "Hopefully." Melanie glanced towards the ground. "Hopefully things get better. I don't even want to think about what would happen should the garrison fall." Eleanor pulled open the doors of the hall and the two girls entered. The guild hall interior is split into two hallways. On the left, the mission board and information desk, and on the right, the kitchen and dining room. "I would love to see the day where you two actually show up for a job on time." The two girls winced and turned in the direction of the familiar voice. "Hey there, Garrick. Sorry we're late," said Melody. The two girls watched as Garrick dropped his head and sighed. He pinched the bridge of his nose and said, I would appreciate it more if you actually meant it." The small group chuckled slightly and made their way over to the information desk. The secretary behind the desk filled out the paperwork and glanced up to see the group arrive. "Ah, Garrick, Melanie, Eleanor. Don't worry, Sky took care of the paperwork already." The secretary handed a piece of parchment to Melanie. "They should be in the dining hall waiting for you." The group nodded and began walking to the dining room. Sky saw their party enter and yelled out, "Finally! I've been waiting for ages. Shall we get going?" Sky stood and grabbed their staff before walking towards their group. "Wouldn't dream of doing a hunt without our cleric," said Eleanor. With all members assembled, the group made their way outside and into their already prepared wagon. "You're welcome, by the way. Preparing a wagon is rather hard on your own," said Sky. "Thank you, Sky. We know we can be inconsiderate at times, but we really do appreciate all the hard work you do for us," said Melanie, placing a hand on Sky's shoulder and smiling. "All right, everyone. If we hurry, we can finish the hunt and be back in time for dinner," said Garrick before taking the reins of the wagon. Before long, the group was off on their mission. Valerie struggled to catch her breath as she removed her training armor. Meryl produced 2 cups and a canteen from her bag. She held out the cup of water and said, "Drink up. Can't have you fainting on me." Valerie grabbed the cup and drank it all in one gulp. She slammed the cup down and hissed with pain. "I'm gonna be sore for days." Valerie noticed Meryl chuckle softly. "It's just about practice. You'll get used to it in time." Meryl stood and placed her sword at her side. "Well, training is done for the day, so I will escort you to the garden." Meryl noticed Valerie's eyes widen for just a second. "I appreciate it. Thank you," said Valerie. As she finished redoing her braid, the two women made their way back to the palace. "I'll put this in your room," said Mariel, holding up the same sword Valerie used in practice. "Not very appropriate for tea." Valerie smirked and said, "You're right about that. I'll see you later." Mariel, "Thank you." The two women shared a quick hug and went their separate ways. The royal garden was lined with rows of flowers, marble pillars affixed to a slightly curved roof, and a magnificent fountain in the center. As Valerie approached, she noticed the table was already prepared. Camille exited the palace holding a large tray of pastries. "Good afternoon, Your Highness. Queen Meredith will be joining us soon. Please take a seat," said Camille as she placed the tray on the table. Valerie walked over to the table and took a seat. "You've outdone yourself, Camille. This is amazing," said Valerie, still deciding which pastry to taste first. There were all manners of sweets on the table, and Valerie felt her hunger grow by the second. The noise of heels signaled the arrival of the Queen, and Camille bowed as she said, "Good afternoon, Queen Meredith. You look radiant as always." Camille stood up straight and placed her hands in front of her. Meredith took a seat and removed her long silk gloves. Camille poured Meredith tea. "Thank you for this, Camille. We are lucky to have someone as kind as you to take care of us," said Meredith. Camille smiled and bowed again slightly before returning to the kitchen. Valerie and Meredith enjoyed their tea as they spoke about anything that came to mind. "So, how's the training going?" asked Meredith. Valerie almost choked on her tea in response to the question. "You, want to know about training?" Valerie placed her teacup down. "You never asked before, so I thought you weren't interested." Valerie smiled as she thought of stories she could share. "Just because I don't ask doesn't mean I'm not interested. For example, tell me how today's training went?" said Meredith as she grabbed another pastry. "Well, I got to use an actual sword," said Valerie, still slightly rubbing her still sore wrist. "That's great, sweetheart. Are you being careful?" asked Meredith. She squinted at her eyes as she watched Valerie avoid eye contact. "I'm joking, of course. I'm being careful." Although being careful doesn't prevent sore muscles. The two women laughed slightly and sighed in unison. "I'm very proud of you, Valerie. I know I don't say it all the time, but I am." Meredith grabbed Valerie's hand across the table and squeezed it. "Thanks, Mom. That really means a lot to me," said Valerie. The sun began to set, and Camille began to clear the table. "Oh, before I forget, Camille, can you please bring out the box?" said Meredith. "Of course, Your Majesty," said Camille, before retreating to the kitchen. "Hey, what's with this secrecy?" asked Valerie, crossing her arms. With Meredith pretending to ignore her. A few minutes later, Camille returned with a large wrapped box. Valerie looked at the box and raised an eyebrow. "I put in the order weeks ago, and it finally arrived," said Meredith, excitement rising in her voice. "What is it? Is it a gift for someone?" asked Valerie. Meredith chuckled. "It's for you, silly, for the bowl." Meredith watched Valerie's face shift. "At least see what it is before you judge it." Valerie sighed and began opening the box. Mom. Valerie fought tears as she gazed inside. "This is beautiful." Valerie placed the elegant light blue cloak over her shoulders and twirled in place. "I know you weren't super crazy about the ball gown, so I figured this would be a good compromise," said Meredith. Valerie ran to her mother, and the two women hugged. "Thank you so much. Can I ditch the heels too?" said Valerie. Meredith raised an eyebrow in response. "Well, can't blame me for trying." The two women made their way back inside the warm interior of the palace. "Good night, sweetheart. Hope you sleep well," said Meredith, giving Valerie a kiss on the forehead. "Night, Mom. Same to you." Valerie returns to her room and changes into her nightwear. Before she has the chance to climb in bed, she glanced out of her window and looked up at the stars. The ball is going to be amazing. I can feel it. Melanie is looking through her components to see which spells she can cast. "Melanie, if you have something that can help, now would be a good time to use it," said Garrick as he fought off a gnoll. "I found it, finally!" said Melanie, pulling out a small brown ball and yellow powder. "Everyone, get back!" yelled Eleanor. Knowing what those two things meant, the party moved behind Melanie as she prepared her spell. "Fireball!" Melanie yelled as she completed the incantation, sending a tiny yellow dot towards the gnolls. The dot made contact with one of the gnolls and triggered a large explosion of heat and flames. When the heat died down, the party moved towards the corpses, or what was left of them. "Wow, Melanie, you're getting really good at magic," said Sky. "Kinda makes you feel bad for them." "Kind of." The party returned to the wagon and began their trip back to the city. "I need to go shopping again. Thankfully, we're earning a fair bit of money for this job," said Melanie, reviewing her leftover components. "Same here. Being a monk can be annoying sometimes," said Eleanor, wrapping her hands again. Once in the city, the party went back to the guild hall to collect the reward. "Hey, we're back, Sylvia. The gnolls have been dealt with," said Sky as the group approached the information desk. "Well done. Not that I'm surprised, given your track record." Sylvia reached behind the counter and produced a large pouch of coins. "There you are, 500 silver pieces." Sylvia handed the pouch to Sky. "Thank you very much." The group all spoke in unison before leaving. Sky handed the pouch to Melanie, who quickly split the money evenly. "Everyone should have 125 silver," said Melanie, waiting for everyone to count their shares. Everyone nodded when they were finished, and the party went their separate ways. "See you guys next week," yelled Melanie before she made her way home. As she entered her home, she let the smell of the kitchen envelop her body. "Hey guys, I'm home," said Melanie, removing her cloak and hanging it behind the door. "Welcome home, honey. How was today's hunt?" Melanie let out a big sigh of relief as she sat down. "It was difficult, but I did get to use my new spell. It was really cool." The sound of footsteps on the stairs drew Melanie's attention as she saw her sister descend. "Hi, sis. Are you talking about magic?" Lyra smirked as she watched Melanie's face light up with renewed enthusiasm. "Luca, why don't you go wash up for dinner, and then you can ask your big sis all about magic, okay?" asked Lyra. She waited as Luca considered her suggestion. Okay, but I want to hear about the really cool stuff. Promise?" asked Luca, pointing towards Melanie. I promise, said Melanie, crossing her heart. A few minutes passed before Luca returned and took her seats at the table. All right, girls, dinner's ready, said Lyra, grabbing the large pot from the fireplace and placing it on the table. Removing the lid, Lyra revealed a delicious-smelling meat stew. Now I see why you were so excited about the butchers this morning. This looks delicious, said Melanie, fighting back the urge to drool. Lyra serves Melanie and Luca and then herself. All three girls began eating before Luca remembered Melanie's promise. Magic! What cool magic did you learn? Luca continued eating while waiting for a response. I can make a big fireball now, said Melanie. She watched as Luca's eyes widened in amazement. Really? How big? Really big, Melanie responded. As the two girls ate dinner, Luca became more and more enthralled. Can I see your magic stuff? Asked Luca. Melanie hesitated and looked to her mother for reassurance. Luca, you know she can't. It's dangerous. Plus, it's really expensive, said Lyra. Luca's expression shifted as she dropped her head. Okay, said Luca. Melanie sighed and grabbed her bag. I'll show you a few things, but you cannot touch anything unless you want to burn the house down. Luca's expression immediately changed back as she shifted in her seat. Okay, show me, said Luca, waiting to see what her sister had in her crazy bag. This is a safe one. It's a little diamond. Melanie handed it to Luca. You can hold this one since only I know the magic words. Luca grabbed the diamond and admired it. It's so pretty. What else do you have? Luca asked, growing in excitement with each passing minute. Well, I can't go shopping till tomorrow, so I only have these two things left, said Melanie, producing a large spool of silver wire and a small pouch of gray dust. What's that one do? Asked Luca, pointing towards the spool of wire. Well, you know how sometimes I have to go on long missions? Luca nodded in response. When I go to sleep outside, I can put this around me and my friends and it will protect us. Luca gasped and grabbed the spool. Do you have to buy it? Nope, it never runs out, Melanie responded. What's that stuff? Luca pointed to the small pouch. Melanie never used this spell. If I remember correctly, I think I can use it to make people bigger, but I've never actually done it. Melanie and Luca continued their magic conversation well into the night. After a few hours, Luca began to rub her eyes. All right, Luca, time for bed, said Lyra. Luca yawned and walked towards her mother. Good night, sis, said Luca, yawning and speaking at the same time. Good night, Luca. I'll see you tomorrow. As Lyra took Luca up to bed, Melanie noticed something she hadn't seen when she came home. These are the masks for the masquerade ball. Melanie picked up a beautiful black mask and ran her fingers across the delicate surface. Excited for the ball? Said Lyra, coming back down the stairs. Yeah, I am. I'm not usually into this sort of stuff, but... Melanie glanced at the mask once more. I think it'll be a nice change of pace. I'm glad you're excited, sweetheart. I am as well, said Lyra, blowing out the candles around the house. The two women make their way upstairs and go to their separate bedrooms. Good night, Mom. Melanie enters her room and closes the door. Before she crawled into bed for the night, she sets up her desk for a bit of research and caught a glimpse of the night sky. The ball is going to be amazing. I can feel it.